Who pulled up for a catch-up? It's really here from 947 Afternoons. And if you're here, it means you've got taste. Go ahead, enjoy the moment you missed. But don't ghost me. Weekdays, 12 to 3 p.m. on 947. I'm loud and way more fun in real time. And yeah, there's more audio magic waiting for you right here on Prime Media Plus.
Move to the music.
All the way home. 947 Drive with Thando.
Our conversation around really the shocking numbers when it comes to unemployment in the country, to help us unpack the latest figure, the structural weaknesses that drive them, and whether or not South Africa still has a credible pathway to meaningful growth and hopefully job creation. We're joined by independent economist Duma Gqubule. Duma, really, shocking numbers, just hundreds and thousands of jobs in a single quarter. What does this tell us about the underlying health of our economy?
Okay, thank you so much for this. It was such a lovely song by Louis. So fun. This is grim news, as you say. 13 million South Africans are unemployed. The unemployment rate for people of all races is 43.7%. The unemployment rate in the Eastern Cape, where half my family lives, my father's side of the family, is 54.8%. In the Northern Cape, it's 54.8%. In those provinces, there are more people who are unemployed than who work.
Oh my God.
And then the unemployment rate for Africans is 47.8%. The unemployment rate for African females is more than 50%. The economy shared 350,000 jobs in the first quarter. Last year, it only created 21,000 jobs. Now, the jobs were shared in the community sector and construction sector. Now, let's start with the community sector. The community sector, although I still have to ask that SA, I'm 100% certain that the reason for shedding 206,000 jobs is that Enoch Godongwana National Treasury cancelled what was called the Basic Education Employment Initiative, which gave 250,000 work opportunities for teacher assistants in our schools. This is a program that was introduced under COVID, and it was part of the presidential employment stimulus. And if you remember, the president talks about this all the time. It creates jobs for mostly young people and jobs for mostly women. Now, what logic is there in cutting down on public employment programs when these create hope for young people, that we are giving them tangible skills in the schools which are short of resources? And that's number one. So that is the reason for the drop in the community sector, I believe. And the second one is in construction. So construction statistics are very volatile, and they tend to go up and down around a certain trend of about 1.3 million people. So the headline things is that we shared. Now, this 350,000 jobs we lost, it shows that we told the government that they're hallucinating and must stop gaslighting us. They've been starting with this narrative that the economy has turned the corner. And we've told them there's no evidence that the economy has turned the corner. Stop gaslighting South Africans. And finally, this statistic puts a nail in the coffin to this discourse that the economy has turned the corner. So the reality today is that GDP per person, per capita, an imperfect level of average living standard, is lower than it was in 2007. It will be lower again this year. It will go down again this year. We are heading for 2 decades of declining living standards. And quite frankly, South Africans, let us focus on this and not these sideshows that distract us every day, the president's speech yesterday. Let's focus on this jobs crisis here. Yeah.
What do we do? As South Africans, it's one thing to say.
Yes. Okay, yeah. So now the thing is, there's a relationship. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I've cut and sliced the data over the past 30 years. There's a relationship between GDP growth and jobs. We call it the employment multiplier. So when the GDP grows by 1%, jobs increase by, on average, 0.8% over the past 17 years. Now, in the previous period, when we were creating jobs, it was about 0.9. Now, our economy has grown by 1.1% a year for the past 17 years. By comparison, emerging and developing countries in the world, 155 of them, they grew by 4.4% a year. Now, If we had grown by 4.4% a year, we would have had using that formula, 4.4 times 0.8, we would have had an unemployment rate of close to 5%. And I was in Malaysia at the end of last year. They have an unemployment rate of 2.6%. Then I looked, what is the growth of Malaysia? Over the past 17 years, it was 4.4%. So we have to get this economy growing. And this is the number one challenge that we have in this country. Get this economy growing.
How, Duma?
Let me just simplify it. Is that the private sector can't invest in an economy where the people don't have enough money to buy the things they can produce. That is simple. And Stats SA has got surveys which show that there's spare capacity in the private sector. They can produce more, but they're not. And the reason they say they're not doing it, people abana mali. They've got no zak. They've got no mula to buy the things that we can produce. So the stimulus, we have to stimulate the economy. Our crazy central bank governor, the insane monetary policy committee, they have to cut interest rates. Our finance minister, Enoch Godongwana, he has to stimulate the economy. You have to put more juice into this economy, because what's happened over the past 12 years is that there's been a collapse in per capita public investment. And that is the number one reason why cities and towns throughout South Africa are like dangerous and dirty slums, because the government stopped investing in the people. You know, I live in Johannesburg, and I was shocked to look at the stats that under Parks in 2017, in nominal terms, before you take into account inflation and the population growth, they had higher investment in Jozi than now. It has collapsed by more than 50%. That is now, what logic is there? Because the government in its own budget, they say infrastructure construction has got the highest jobs multipliers. It creates jobs for people who've got very low levels of education, less than matric, you know, the highest level. So those are the type of jobs we should be creating as a country. And yes, yeah.
Yeah, look, I can hear the passion as you speak, Duma, and perhaps the thing is we're not angry enough, right? Because they're saying they're fixing the infrastructure. Where?
Exactly.
Where is it being
They're
fixed?
telling us 1 trillion rand, they're gaslighting us again. You know, Tina, we do the numbers. So the 1 trillion rand, once you take into account inflation, it's going to decline by 4% a year. And once you take into account population growth, it's more than 4% a year. So public investment collapsed by 40% since 2014, and what I call a public sector investment strike, and it's going to continue to collapse over the next 3 years. So they mustn't fool us. And every time the president goes and says we're spending more infrastructure than ever before, obviously, but it's too little, and you're cutting investment. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Duma, thank you so much for your time. Duma Gqubule is an independent economist.
Move to the music.
All the way home. 947 Drive with Thando.